welcome everyone to the future of retail, or how we've titled it, Reinventing Retail at Best Buy. This is Women Who Code Vancouver's September event in partnership with Best Buy Canada. We have an incredible roster of speakers lined up tonight who will share the elite stuff that they're building and pioneering internally at the company. Truly, truly excited. Can't wait to hear all of the awesomeness everyone is building. My name is Holly PECK. As mentioned, I'm the founder and one of the incredible directors of Women Who Code Vancouver. For work, during the day, I am an AI engineer manager and director of creative services at a company called Soul Machines. We make digital humans for a wide variety of use cases and verticals, and it's really cool because it's kind of where science meets art. I'm also an AI and ML advisor to SPUD and FoodX, and I am a Microsoft MVP in AI. I have a really weird background, which proves that you don't have to study computer science when you're like 10 years old to become a technologist. I've worked in a humanoid robotics lab. I've also done some work in cognitive computing, but I was formerly trained as an anthropologist. So there you go, very weird. If you want to follow us, I've included my Twitter handle there as well. You can follow Women Who Code. It's WWCode Vancouver is our official Twitter handle. Our mission at Women Who Code is quite simple, but it is truly transformative and a little bit political. And that is to inspire women in technical careers. We are the largest technical organization for women in the world. We have over 230,000 members globally. We have over 80 chapters and networks on themes like data science and awesome, cool stuff, mobile, as well as city chapters. There are 3 Canadian chapters, Toronto, Waterloo, and ours. So if anyone wants to start a Montreal chapter, we can talk later. And the Vancouver chapter was actually formally started at Microsoft in 2016. We've had, I think, over 84 meetups, and we've grown our community from 0 to over 2,600 technologists working in industry. If you want to volunteer or partner, get in touch. Our vision at Women Who Code is a world where more women, LGBTQIA, non-binary folks are represented as technical executives, founders, VCs, board members, and of course, software engineers. Our events promote women engineers and technologists building cool stuff, as we'll see tonight. If you want to join our leadership community, leadership team rather, or if you want to volunteer or get involved or partner in future endeavors, please DM me on Twitter or reach out to me directly, hollypeck@womenwhocode.com. We have a code of conduct, and I'd like to read it aloud so everyone is aligned on what is acceptable and what is not. Women Who Code is an inclusive community dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone who participates in or supports our community, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, ability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, socioeconomic status, caste, creed, political affiliation, or of course, preferred programming language. Our events are intended to inspire women to excel in technology careers, and anyone who is there for this purpose is welcome. We do not tolerate harassment of members in any form or any kind. Our code of conduct applies to all Women Who Code events and online communities. If you want to read the full version and have access to this, or submit an incident report, you can do so at that URL. A quick note on our leadership team. We have amazing directors and leads. Myself, Zainab, Roxandra, Sanzeni, Patience, and of course, Eliza. You might see these familiar faces around the Tech Lord universe in Vancouver and beyond. Okay, I am going to now hand it over to Dave to give a quick update on life at Best Buy and any exciting announcements you want to share.
Great, thanks, Holly. Thanks for joining us tonight, and a very warm welcome to you all. My name's Dave, and I lead technology at Best Buy. I'm super proud to be partnering with Women Who Code and inviting you to hear from some of our incredible female technologists as they speak about some of the cool stuff we're building at Best Buy. We jumped at the opportunity to take part in this initiative that combines exciting technology and helping women excel in this field. I've been to a number of Women Who Code events, and I'm always impressed. But the one that struck me the most was I attended the one-year anniversary event that took place in the Microsoft building with a lot of focus on robotics and AI. And the quality of content and the technical excellence there absolutely blew me away. It left such a lasting impression on me that I knew we needed to do more with Women Who Code. I was just absolutely blown away. And as a senior leader in technology, I know that diversity of all sorts helps us reach and surpass our goals faster. And I see Women Who Code and Best Buy Canada as like-minded. We both aspire to give women the best career development possible, where they can grow themselves not only through domain expertise, but through leadership development with the same importance as technical skills. And that's a really great place for women to thrive. Now, one of the ways we do that is through a coaching program. Now, you hear about coaches typically as executive coaches who coach, CEOs and whatnot. But we flipped that model, and we provide coaches to the technical teams early on in their career. So they get the benefit of working with some really top-notch coaches that actually help accelerate their career. Now, we're on a journey to become a truly diverse workforce. And while we're doing a lot of great work in inclusion and diversity, we can always strive to do better. And one of the things that I'll be doing on the back half of this year is hosting a series of facilitated conversations with women in the technology team. And these conversations will be honest. They'll be talking about their realities together with aspirations that will help us shape the culture and drive change that matters. And of course, I'm prepared to hear some pretty difficult truths, but I believe that leadership starts with being human, and it's my duty to listen and act upon what I hear. So that's enough for me. Again, I am just so proud to be partnering with such an amazing organization like Women Who Code, and I'm super excited for you to hear all of the cool stuff that we're up to at Best Buy. So I hope you enjoy the presentations tonight, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Dave. It warms my heart to hear that you were touched by that one-year anniversary event. I thought it was a totally crazy idea. For those of you who weren't there, I created an event called Architectures of Mind, Robots, Brains, and Selves. And I featured computational neuroscientists, roboticists, and then one of my good friends who is a Buddhist monk to talk about cognitive architectures and all this juicy stuff. It was pretty crazy, but I'm really happy that it made an impact. Now, Kristen, you have some incredible news to share. So I'm gonna let you take it away yeah, just talk about life at Best Buy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm actually gonna opt, through all the drama of tech, I'm not going to share slides, but simply because I want to keep us moving and quite honestly to hear from those that are our speakers tonight. One of the things I wanted to do just for context for this group is one, of course, publicly thank Holly and her leaders for the partnership with Women Who Code. You've been incredible ambassadors for our organization for a number of years, and we're forever grateful. What I would also say is, while Best Buy is not probably it is a known name for many of us. What I would say is its size and its scope and the incredible amount of opportunities we have in our organization is sometimes not known. And so you see the store, you see many of them across the country. What I wanted to share with you today is just a little bit of size and scope, and I hope it also allows you to have a little bit of framework as you hear from our speakers tonight. Our organization is actually filled with 12,000 amazing people across the country. And while we have more than 170 stores, we actually had 2 distribution centers, and we have a head office in Burnaby with 1,200 people. And 400 people of those 1,200 are in technology. It is incredible to think of the power of this technology team and how it continues to drive the innovation across this industry. And what I also believe is quite well noted outside of Best Buy. We are leaders amongst our competitors, and I think that is a testament to Dave and team. What I also really think is important to share with you is we're a top employer in Canada. we have these incredible opportunities in infrastructure and release management and software development, data engineering, you name it. Dave and others will tell you, I've sat in meetings, I'm like, I don't know what that means, but like I am in, and I love what you're doing for customers. And I think it's incredibly important to note that as you listen to this content tonight, the purpose of the organization we work for is to improve the lives of our customers through technology. And that when we do this online or we do this in our stores, they truly, and especially over the last 7 months, our purpose has never been more clear than it is today. And we have been helping individuals connect with their families and friends in ways that they didn't realize they needed. And that has just been an absolute honor and gift to be part of that. So with that said, please know that if you want more information about our organization and what we do, you can always go to bestbuy.ca, put in the chat, direct message any of us, love to share. And to our speakers, we are so proud. This is so exciting. Wishing you all the best in this. And please, Q&A, like hit us up. We want to share. So thank you again, Holly.
Thank you so much. Okay, perfect. I am going to now share my screen, and I will actually ask everyone to unmute themselves and give a drum roll and a virtual clap for our incredible speakers. So let's just put our hands together so we can get some love out to our speakers. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, I'm so excited. Our first speaker tonight, her name is Jinu Thomas. She is a software developer in Test 2. She's a member of the quality assurance team at Best Buy Canada, and she acts as a gatekeeper for Best Buy software deployments by analyzing software requirements, and is on her way to becoming an expert in test automation. Jinu is a competitive Just Dance member and loves baking with her daughters on the weekends. She's going to tell us about a fine balance of continuous improvement in technology. So everyone, welcome Jinu. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you, Holly. I'm so excited to share my journey with everyone today. Because when I look back 1 year, I can clearly say I led a very chaotic life. I was the type of person that went above and beyond for everything. For my daughter's first birthday, I spent weeks preparing treats and snacks because I did not want them store-bought. If I decided to do a deep clean at home, I would spend the whole weekend doing just that. And if I wanted to learn a new skill, I would drop everything to focus on it. As you can imagine, this left my life a bit out of balance. I was a mess. And this also prevented me from learning the skill sets that I needed. I joined Best Buy 3 years ago on the product onboarding team as a QA analyst. I found this role very enticing because it involved a lot of back-end systems, manual testing, as well as test automation, which up to that time, I did not have any work experience. The test framework that was used included Maven project, with SPUD as the test framework and Groovy as the programming language. I did not have any experience in any of these systems. Therefore, it was very obvious that I would have a very steep learning curve ahead for me. I started learning on the job, and I found a real joy doing software development with quality assurance. I attended Java courses and lunch and learns provided at Best Buy. I did all my assignments, my homework. I was all in. This was my chance. But I did know this would not be enough. I needed to write efficient, maintainable test scripts. I needed to understand data structures, algorithms, design patterns. I needed to understand systems better, such as Maven, Git, Spring integration, the CI/CD pipeline. There was so much, the list goes on. Sometime later in Best Buy, a new position opens up, software developer in test, or otherwise known as SDET. When I heard of this position, I knew I had to apply. I remember I was one of the first people to apply for this role. I had 2 weeks to prepare for the interview. I dropped everything as usual. I spent hours preparing, learning, cramming, practicing for this interview, staying away from family time and any spare time that I could find. I did the interview and I did not do well. I did not have enough experience for this role. The interviewers wanted to see me again in a few months' time. And to be honest, I had no intentions to do that because the truth is, I did not know what I would do differently than from the first attempt. From there, my out of balance lifestyle became a little bit more worse because now I was trying even harder to close the gap, to attain the skill sets, etc. This went on for some time, and I had my meeting with my manager, Paul, my one-on-ones, and he told me that he really would like to see me apply for this position again. He gave me some guidelines as to what he was looking in his SDETs, what skill sets he really wanted to see out of them. Found that very helpful. I agreed to it, but I was still anxious. I had my meeting with Joanna, my talent coach. So in Best Buy talent coaches, they're a group of people that help and support the employees reach their career goals. And I tell her my dilemma, that I'm miserable, I'm struggling to reach the skills I need. In fact, both at home and at work. And we sit and brainstorm this quite intensely to understand, to get to the bottom of it, And we hit this aha moment where kind of I realized that I am something which you would call a selective perfectionist. It's an all or nothing approach for me. So she wanted me to acknowledge this and plan my next 6 months career goals. The challenging part of this was to create realistic, balanced, small goals with the knowledge that perfection may not be achieved, being the very limited resource that I am, and that's okay. She also wanted me to, before diving into these goals, identify what can prevent me from reaching them, and also go in with the plan of iterating when this happens. So for myself, I wanted to focus on the most important segments of me, being my skills and technical and intellectual skills, my health and well-being, my family, relationships, and home. For my technical skills, a plan was do 1 or 2 courses that would help me reach this STED role. To take on more challenges every sprint that would accelerate my growth. To have the developers on my team as my mentors. For my health and well-being, the idea was more of sustaining my physical activities. Do not introduce anything drastic, no crazy diets. And lastly, family, the idea was the limited time that I had, spend it better with them, have a more quality time with them. Empower them to take responsibilities at home. In that way, we would actually spend more time together. And cut out any less important chores. So I started the plan. Right at the beginning, it was evident that my learning time was taking up quality time with my family. So I set that time early mornings before they woke up. I chose to learn a behavior-driven test automation course, as well as mastering mastering the coding interview, data structures and algorithm. It's a course in Udemy, which I really enjoyed and I highly recommend. The more challenging part for me was to take on risks or challenges at work, because you're taking ownership of something that you don't actually have all the skills required. But the great part about that was my developers supported me on this. I was able to learn from them and their vast knowledge. And they really understood the value and the necessity of test automation. And this really helped me grow faster. So a few months later, the interviews opened up again for the SDET position. I applied. I remember brushing up on my interview skills, but nothing crazy because it was against my long-term plan. Before going into the interview, I worked with Joanna some really helpful tips. One being, no judgment of self. Secondly, you know what you know. You may not know everything you need required for the interview. It may not even be applicable for the interview. But what you know will help you in your journey, the bigger picture. And lastly, you do your best and then you let it go. You are not in control of the consequence, so you just have to let it go. I was really excited to say that I did well for the interview, and I actually got a double promotion. So from this experience, I learned two things. One, taking a smaller, balanced, realistic approach to learning. So it's like keeping your life like this, helps you grow if you sustain it over a long period of time, versus this all and nothing approach, because that's great for some time and then it's gone. And secondly, in order to grow, you need a real big supportive system, a group of people. So for me, that was the amazing people at Best Buy and my awesome family. I really want to encourage everyone to identify where they want to grow and make a very detailed plan how they're going to achieve it. Because as we all know, software technologies move so fast. The skills we have today may not be enough or even relevant in the next 5 years. And as someone once said, if you're willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. Wish you all the best in your journey. Thank you.
So many people comment on how incredible and encouraging your story is, Jinu. Thank you so much for sharing today. I think it's safe to say that we can now turn our video back on and proceed to the next speaker. So everyone unmute yourself and give a warm round of applause to just this incredible, inspiring speaker tonight. So thank you, Jinu. Woo, and we're all back. This is the fun of Zoom invites. There's always some technical issue here. So Jinu, you can turn on your camera as well again. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone hear me and see this? Yes, we're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, so our next incredible technologist tonight will be sharing some wonderful insights into her journey and what she does at Best Buy. We have Nancy LIANG, and Nancy is a technology manager in data analytics at Best Buy, and she has over 20 years working experience with data in IT, e-commerce, and retail industries. 20 years, that is insane. Nancy's passionate about data strategy, product management, and finding solutions for problems that have big impact on organizations. And her talk title is Worth the Wait, Data Culture in Best Buy Canada. And I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna let Nancy take it away.
Thank you, Holly, and good evening, everyone. Can you hear me clear? Okay, thank you. I wish I didn't put 20 years. I started my journey from year 10. Okay, one thing I didn't know, Holly, you were working as an AI advisor, so we definitely can talk after that. Okay, let me start. When you hear the term data culture, what comes to mind? You might say, I know data. My phone number is data. My review on Best Buy website for a product is data. A video is a data. Data can tell a lot of stories. Data can help us to make decisions. But what is the data culture? You may not realize, but data culture is all around us. For example, as a daughter, a mom for 2 kids, a wife, data culture means putting my parents' birthday in my calendar so I remember to celebrate it. It means write down in the weekend shopping list that kitchen has running out of sugar and then coffee can is empty to make sure our family life is running normal. As a technology manager at Best Buy Canada, data culture is how I find the data from many different types of data sources and build a trustable data foundation and a platform for business analysts to use it so that they can gain new insights and tell magical business stories. There is a magic in data because it helps you make the fast and best decision. I'm very proud where I am and who I am right now. In year 2020, the hottest topic, you heard from Holly as well, in the world, of course, aside from COVID-19, okay, is artificial intelligence, which fully relies on data. But that wasn't the case in 2012 for me. I remember so clearly 8 years ago, after the first month I joined the Best Buy Canada, I present a PowerPoint deck for data strategy, recommending we bring in big data technology. My director at that time said to me, Best Buy Canada was not there yet. I felt a little confused and lost, but I always remember when I just graduated from university, what my dad told me. He said, when you start with a company, take at least 3 to 5 years to understand the business culture and then to go through all the challenges you could, so you can really understand how you can grow yourself personally and then back to the business. Nothing in the real world can be changed overnight. So I tried to patiently wait for my data culture to arrive, and it was hard. In 2018, I got very frustrated as I was working so hard to build the data culture at Best Buy Canada, and things were moving so slow. Thinking about it, most product team only have a couple of business stakeholders, maybe maximum 5, but me and my team had more than 20 teams of business stakeholders. Every single department at our head office has a business analyst team, and then they are all my stakeholders. I felt like my team was getting no recognition, no support. We lacked leadership as we didn't have a director of data. I began to question things, honestly. In such a high demand labor market, as a woman who code in data, I receive recruiters' email through LinkedIn very often. One day I walked into the office of one of the director and said, "Hey Dan, I know you're in the audience. There is another recruiter who's reached out to me again with a better position. Should I give it a try?" He told me, "Nancy, I understand. Please wait, give me 2 more weeks." Of course, nothing happened 2 more weeks after. Yes, but these 2 weeks definitely give me time to calm down. I asked myself, Am I on the right track for my career? Did I make right decision? Is this the right place for me? Somehow, there was always one clear voice who answered, yes, Nancy, you love the culture of Best Buy. You love the people here. Best Buy helps you grow so much as a person in technology as well. Give it more time. Keep working on it. Do it before you ask for it. Keep fighting for a better data culture and be patient. Finally, 4 months after, my career stepped into a new stage and I was promoted to my current position as a technology manager in the enterprise data and analytic team. Everyone in the family was so proud of me, of course myself too. My talent coach, Sherry at Best Buy, was cheering for me, says, Nancy, let's put some action items for you to celebrate this great accomplishment. I did. You know what I did? I bought a pair of new boots for myself. Today, things look very different. Back in 2012, I only have 2 people on the data team, including myself. Today, right now, we have 22 people and we are hiring. We're still hiring for more. We have leadership with the new data director, Dil Mustafa. Hi, Dil, I know you're in the audience too. Thank you for your support. I'm so happy and I appreciate all support I'm getting right now. There is no story without a coincidence. Just a couple weeks ago, Dil and I present our data strategy and a roadmap to the senior leaders, including Dave, in technology department. You know what the feedback we got this time? Everyone was so excited. Many positive feedback, many questions, big alignment. I still see challenges here and there, but we are ready to rock, and then step up to the next level. Yes. Up to now, we retired the 18-year-old legacy enterprise reporting system, which heavily used in the headquarter office and then stored across Canada, replaced with the new tools. We are migrating our operation data store to data warehouse on-premise. Based on our find, trust, use data strategy, we started to establish our new data empire in cloud. We finished a couple of proof of concept last year. We finalized the data architecture in cloud. We're building our data lake as a single truth of the raw data. We're working on the proof of a value for using Snowflake as our data warehouse in cloud. We are optimizing on data governance processes, metadata management, and so much more. I'm not a good painter, but I think this vision paints the best data culture for my career for Best Buy Canada. Thinking about if you are a new hire, hired a business analyst in Best Buy Canada with a modernized self-serve environment, solid data foundation with trustable data quality, platform enables machine learning, deep learning, and of course the hottest artificial intelligence with the proper governance. Don't you feel you are the one, the very important one to drive the business? Or you are passionate about the data culture like me, no matter if you are a data engineer, a data warehouse designer, or analytic engineer, working in such a fancy data culture environment, building such a solid data castle to help the business stakeholders to telling their magic business story. Wow, I feel I'm a hero. I remember I heard a feedback about 2 years ago. A colleague told me, hey Nancy, I've been here more than 15 years. You're here less than me. How come you seem to know everyone in the entire building? Yes, this is a little exaggerated, but this is true. So many people knows me because they always ask data question from me. They're always looking for a self-serve platform from me. They're looking for a reporting solution from me. It makes me realize there has always been a data culture at Best Buy Canada. I just had to patient to allow the data culture to catch up to me. And now I can confidently move forward with the roadmap of building the foundation of the true data culture at Best Buy Canada, and then sharing the magic of data with as many people as possible. Before I pass it over to Holly, allow me to thank David for having me here, having us here. Thanks, Jenny, for helping me prepare. I changed my lights, so I look perfect here. And then thanks, Kristen and Holly, for correct my topic title at the last moment. And thanks, Deal, Dan, and all my team members supporting me. Kevin. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that incredible talk, Nancy. Everyone, unmute yourself, give a warm, awesome applause. Round of applause to Nancy. You killed it. That's amazing. Wow, congratulations. Okay, so I'm going to open up the floor for a Q&A. If you have a question, please DM me. While everyone is furiously writing their question, I'm actually going to ask you one. You talked about metadata management. Can you speak a little bit more about what you're working on regarding that?
Definitely. Excuse me, I needed some water before too excited. For metadata management, it's part of the data governance pieces. We are working with Dave and then Deal and the team together because we have challenges and really make our data awareness to our business stakeholders. The metadata management, which is really putting our metadata into some platform. We still try to make a decision on the technology selection and the platform. So we are working on that and then try to bring all our data available for our visible and then aware to our business stakeholders, not only for the data itself, but also for all the combined with all the business glossaries, combined with all the workflows going, and then understand the data mapping, and then to understand where they can put the right data into the right query. So we're planning to have a query sharing, and even reporting sharing, dashboard sharing. So if I'm a new business analyst hired in Best Buy, I type in revenue. So it will populate all the queries related to it. And the dashboard has been created. And then the table data sources, which along with it. So those are part of the metadata management. Me and Dale is working on it.
Awesome. Thank you for answering my question, Nancy. Now, does anyone else have any questions? If not, we will continue to our next fabulous speaker. I'll just give folks 30 seconds, maybe a fast 30 seconds. Okay, well, thank you, Nancy, so much. You just slayed that presentation. What a riveting story. The lighting looks awesome. We're now going to continue to our next speaker. So I'm going to share my screen again. Now, our next speaker has asked not to be filmed. So after I introduce her, I will pause the recording tonight. However, I do want to give her some visibility on just how incredible she is. But her name is Qian Baines. She is a software developer 3 at Best Buy. Qian is a senior software developer. She's had the pleasure of growing her career at Best Buy and has recently taken on the role of tech lead in her product family. She works with a team of ninjas using algorithms to get customer orders delivered cost efficiently, on time, or better. Sometimes it can be mind-bending. She wouldn't have it any other way. Awesome. Her talk title tonight is entitled Release Our Full Potential. So everyone give a warm virtual round of applause for Qian. And I am just going to pause recording and then let her speak. Okay, thank you so much, Qian. We're recording again. That was truly incredible. Thank you for your bravery. Super excited to hear from our next presenter. So I'm going to share my screen, of course. Okay, next up, we have NICOLE BRAUN. NICOLE is a product manager 3, and she's been a product manager rather, for 7 years. But product and KPIs have quietly been part of her decision-making process for much, much longer. Her jam is tearing big, audacious, complex problems into pieces and then simplifying them till the right way forward for our customer is obvious and attainable. Wow, that's great imagery. Her talk title tonight is Putting KPIs and Your Team in the Driver's Seat. So everyone give a warm round of applause for NICOLE. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Hello. Oh, not yet. Maybe now.
Perfect. Awesome.
Cool. All right. So hi, I am NICOLE and I am a product manager. It is important to note that Chen and I are quietly talking about the same thing, but from very different angles. Also, I am the person who's loud and unspoken, and that means that you guys are about to get a little bit more energy than you probably expected for 7:15 on a Wednesday night. But I am very excited to chat to you. So, as I said, my jam is finding and solving big problems with software development teams. I mean, big, big stuff. Right now, my team is rebuilding the pricing and promotion technology, and I do mean all of it, for Best Buy. So for me, I identified the opportunity, I pitched it, and it is a big, hairy, audacious goal. My job is sometimes hard. You guys probably assume that the hard part is trying to convince folks to spend millions of bucks on shiny new things, and that is pretty tricky. But it's actually much harder to get 6 developers, like Chen, in a meeting to talk. That's it. I'm not asking for the moon. I just want everyone to speak, to share their mind, to make us better. The sound of those crickets is the energy-draining, soul-sucking hard that faces me every time I have a team meeting. Regardless of whether or not I ask about the weekend or the code, it's the same. And I've worked with dozens of development teams in the past, either as a business analyst or as a product manager. And one of the characteristics that persists across each of those fantastically accomplished teams is that most of the time, getting people to speak in meetings is like pulling teeth. No one ever wants to go first. No one ever wants to talk. I used to think that it was a me thing, that I found all of the people in the world that didn't want to speak and I'd filled my teams up with them. But then I listened in on a few design sessions and I realized that they actually did speak politely to each other, just not when I was around. It's probably maybe a bit of a me thing. So I was faced with a problem: how to encourage really smart people to speak out, or better yet, to be rabble rousers when they're problem solving. I want rabble, I want rousing. That makes me better. And that problem felt much, much harder than building transformational technology for one of our Canada's largest retailers. It was daunting. So as I said, in these moments, my go-to strategy is to inject energy and enthusiasm. I think it's my superpower, but hey, into all of those voids. That 60 minutes a couple times a week, that was just a lot. And enthusiasm sort of worked, but honestly, the results were a far cry from all of the innovation that I needed and wanted from my team. So my coach, there's lots of coaching talk here. My coach and I spent a bunch of time talking about how I could tease discussion out of people. Lots of great talk later, I felt like I finally understood the barrier. I realized that no one wanted to be wrong and no one wanted the risk of going first. So my meeting problem evolved to how to encourage rabble rousing when folks were afraid of failure and all of its associated risk. Now, before we talk about what I learned along that journey, I'm going to quickly outline the problem that my team is solving, a little bit because it's cool, but mostly because it helps in chatting about how we got to where we are and what we learned along the way. So, product pricing. It is an interesting product if you are a retailer, because everyone and everything in the company revolves around price. And at some point, every service has had to make a decision about how to share price with their customer. For us, that means that a problem emerged where we had to ensure that when customers were in the store looking at a price tag, it matched the price of the cash register or the website or even the kiosk at the airport. Why? Because we love everyone equally and we want our customers to have confidence that we're telling them about the best price so that they know that they're getting the best buy. The problem that my team is solving is to ensure that all of the customers that we love get the best price and the same price all at the same time. Now there's some nuance in there, but mostly it boils down to making sure that when price changes happen, every customer knows about that change as quickly as possible. All right, now let's go back to silent team meetings for a moment. Why do I want them to be rabble rousers? Because we can't get to that outcome, quick price changes, without changing all of our interconnected services. We need them to know the new way or the new prices. And I need them to be disruptors because I need them to reimagine our pricing landscape. I need them to be change champions to our technology teams. So if we go back to the business problem for a moment, we were a couple of months into solving our goal of quick price changes. We had things in production and we had shifted the first itty bitty service over to our new pricing feed. Technology was going well, but my team still weren't talking at meetings. So I started trying some new stuff, trial and error, rinse and repeat, yada, yada. There were some pretty blatant failures. So I'm gonna skip past those. And I'm going to focus instead on what I think did work. I'm going to talk about KPIs. At the start of each meeting, I tried to explicitly anchor each piece of work that we were talking about back to our KPIs, not tentatively, definitely not casually, more like an acceptance criteria that we actively discussed. I wanted to debate them. They barely wanted to talk. You guys understand what I'm saying. I said things like, cool plan, love it, but how does this help us get to quick price changes? The first time there was the standard response, not much of a change in the session dynamics. And honestly, that was true for quite a bit. Grooming meetings didn't really change much at all for a while. But a couple of sprints in, I started noticing tiny pivots. When we talked about introducing a feature to a service, someone spoke up. And said, cool story, but that's gonna make us slower, not faster. When we performance tested the last change we made, they said, we figured out that stuff was okay until scale. So hey, product manager, we wanna go back and make some changes. They talked, they outlined the problem, and they led the discussion. We got lots better, and it was glorious. All right, so quick sidebar. I want to go back and label set on KPIs just for a moment because love them. KPIs are metrics that you use to measure your product's performance. They're really clues to help you understand if you're making forward progress. First, you create a benchmark, then you and your team build things, and then you measure, and then you build, and then you measure, and then you see if the work that you're completing is moving the dial towards your goals. Really, it's a tool to check in to see if the micro changes that your team is doing are advancing or hindering your progress. The sad truth is, even with the best intentioned changes, both outcomes are entirely possible. All right, so let's go back to my team for a moment. I threaded my team KPIs into the conversation when I said that we're trying to get the best price and the same price at the same time to all of our customers. That means that when my team is problem solving, they consider and discard solutions based on how each piece of work could move that dial. Technology can't handle the volume we have to send, then they might scale up servers or throttle data to make sure that the most important information is prioritized. And there are tons of ways that they could solve problems every day. KPIs inform and guide their choices. So why do I think that KPIs are so important in unleashing my mild-mannered rabble rousers? And what did I learn? KPIs gave them a framework to problem solve. It gave them something to anchor their solutions to and something that they could vet their ideas against, meaning it gave them confidence to speak up. So let's focus on that for just a moment. KPIs reduce the risk of being wrong, and that in itself was enough to lay the foundation of trust and create confidence for the folks on my team. What's more, those KPIs made each piece of work relevant in accomplishing a greater goal that we were chasing, and that was a powerful motivator. That confidence, the foundation that KPIs and team purpose enabled, that opened up the floor for innovation, but it also opened up opportunities for our developers to evolve into leaders. Why? Because focusing on common goals helped my team feel connected. Common goals helped my team innovate and challenge, but most importantly, common goals united. Leading that problem solving, being able to share ideas, the good, the bad, and even the ugly, that's when they became a leader. So what am I saying? I'm saying that KPIs are a pivotal foundation to emerge as a leader on a cross-functional team, and that those terrible, long, drawn-out silences were actually hints that we needed to be more in tune with the problem that we were solving in order to emerge as change disruptors. Are we there yet? Not quite. We're leaps and bounds better than we were, and we're iterating. And in the week that happened since I decided I was going to talk about, we shipped something truly transformative. That itty bitty system became a big honkin' deal, and that feels like a pretty serious win right now. So that's me. I love KPIs. I'd love to jam about them. Does anybody have any questions?
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. All right, unmute, round of applause for our incredible presenter, Nicole. We actually have 2 questions that came up during your talk, and I will read them aloud now, word for word. Maureen also says, yay for KPIs. Awesome. So question from Eliza. My question for Nicole is, did she find that using planning poker or Scrum to be successful in encouraging convos among tech and non-technical teams?
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is interesting. I actually talked about this morning, and it was fantastic. So I have tried poker. I have tried grooming in Slack. I've had my teams write, their number, their estimation on screens. I've tried using chat channels and people put estimations there. One of the things that is interesting is that if they're very in tuned, they're awesomely in tuned with each other. They're fantastic at all that stuff. And so they've got to the point now where when we estimate, the likelihood that I get a deviation between anyone's estimation is like maybe 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 times. So I actually can't rely on that deviation to drive the conversation, because there's almost never a deviation. They're like consistently, amazingly awesome at being consistent.
So you're saying it's like for the planning poker, you might need someone who has to be assigned to be the troublemaker.
Yeah, like I need someone to like be the like red herring, like someone throw in a random 3 so that I can force some conversation, because that would be amazing. Often it's me like sitting there in like the awkward silences going, oh, well, hey, I'm a product manager and this isn't my jam, but like, let's talk about this random thing right here. Does this make sense? Right direction, wrong direction? What are we thinking?
Awesome. Excellent question. We also have a question from a mystery person. Okay. How many SKUs or SKUs and vendors does Best Buy Canada have? And how often are there price changes? And what platforms or integrations were used to solve or automate this?
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. And some of it I'm allowed to talk about, and there's a whole bunch of people on this call that are gonna give me trouble if I talk about some of it. So here's what I'm gonna say. For the SKU conversation, we have lots and lots and lots. So one of the things that's interesting, and the reason why I'm being a bit obtuse about that is because we actually have a marketplace as well, which a lot of people don't know. And so that marketplace in itself is, millions upon millions of SKUs. And so when we talk about our SKU count, we have the part of our catalog that is stuff that is represented by alternate sellers. And then we have the part of our catalog that's represented by us. And the part that's represented by us is a very small fraction of the percentage that's reflected by our marketplace sellers. So let's go with the vicinity of somewhere in the 20%, no, by 15% range. Okay, so the first question was about the number of SKUs. And then, sorry, can you remind me what the next ones were, Holly?
Yeah. And then how often are there price changes?
Ooh, okay, so why am I heading down this path? And what are we doing that's so transformational? We are a bit of a laggard in our technology for pricing. And we have a really massive brain that likes to run batch jobs every 24 hours. And so the entire crusade that I am like chasing right now is moving away from that batch job process and into real-time pricing updates. So when I said that we released something that was a really big honking deal, what we did is we moved our price updates from for one specific sales channel that we have, so for our stores, we moved them over from this batch job and we moved them into real-time updates. So it really was a massive deal for us, and kind of proud because we did it in like 6 months. So feels like a major win. That's for us. It was, I mean, that was like end to end. So from submission through to display in the POS for our customers. And that went through 4 different integration services to get there, something along those lines. We're veering into the part of the conversation where I would defer to really smart people like Chen and not me, because I don't look at architecture diagrams very often.
Excellent. Yeah, and please don't leak any proprietary information. That would be bad. And I think the last question, what platforms or integrations were used to solve or automate this?
Ooh, so I'm not sure about this, but I bet you Morgan has something to say. So we are currently in the process of evolving some of our integration platforms. And so I'm actually going to reserve comment on that one because I'm going to let Morgan take it because she's going to do a much better job at explaining what's happening there than I am. Safe to say though, we are undergoing major transformation.
Okay, that's perfect because Morgan is our next incredible speaker. So I am going to share my screen and formally introduce her. All right, so next up, oh, but before we do, sorry, everyone give a round of applause for Nicole. Amazing. Woo. Okay, Morgan Auger. She's a technology manager integration at Best Buy and a UBC engineering grad specialized in computational. She has spent 25 years working in tech consulting before joining Best Buy Canada as an IT manager responsible for integration platforms. Her pet language is Perl and her hobby is social change. Awesome. Her talk title tonight is Decoupling Legacy Systems and Fighting Off Anti-Patterns: How Best Buy Canada software teams are owning their own code to increase response and reliability through our newly implemented MuleSoft platform. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Morgan.
Thank you very much. I have slides and I think I'm sharing them now. The sharing way has changed. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to do an audio check. Is the audio good? People can hear me?
We can hear you and see you beautifully. It's awesome.
Okay, great. So thank you, Holly. So my name is Morgan Auger, and I'm going to be doing a show and tell about decoupling legacy systems and fighting off anti-patterns. I threw up my Twitter handle there for people who play and dabble in such things. So, but first I'm going to tell you a story. And this is a story about anti-patterns in real life. Once upon a time, there was a person called Morgan who lived on this boat. It was a big old fish boat, which was a big historic thing from World War II. It had been converted into a packer, had spent its entire life on the coast in BC. And I was living on it with my children. And I was like the sole operator and my kids were around. And a lot of my life was spent keeping the thing safe. As you can imagine, at the time, my children were quite young. And at that time, I tended to dress like this. I loved my scarves. I loved to wrap them around my neck. I had the cold weather hat on, and I would be on the boat a lot wearing this combination. The scarves, I always wear a scarf, it seems. And the thing about scarves is that there's some environments in which maybe you shouldn't have people with scarves. And one day, something was happening, and I needed to go down into the engine room. And this big boat, an engine room is a big place. And that engine, the red one, is the little one. It's the auxiliary that runs the compressors and the power generation system. And there was something wrong. It was making a noise. And I had to look at it because if I lost my generator, I lost my electricity, I couldn't start the boat. It was a big deal. And so I go down there and I go and fiddle around. And you know, when you're focusing on something, you're not necessarily being very, very safe. And as like I said, I like scarves. And engines have rotating machinery because engines are not really built to be around people. And then my scarf just touched the cord and got sucked in by the cord. And before I even realized what was going to happen, I get a big, huge tug on my neck. And luckily for me, the little bit of the scarf broke off and I didn't get dragged in. And here I am today, talking about how the decisions you make in the past can have really negative consequences in the future. And that's kind of what we call anti-patterns. And anti-patterns are this legacy of the things we've inherited from past decisions that made sense at the time, or the shortcuts we took that maybe we shouldn't have made in the first place. So, you know, it's a solution that gets you through a beautiful road by the flowers into the forest until further on you learn that there be dragons and monsters in caves. And that's the nature of what turns out to be an anti-pattern. And in a large enterprise like Best Buy, this is a big deal because we've been running batch automation systems, as Nicole mentioned, as batches, big chunks of data running through and things like this for quite some time. And some of our approaches that were a really good idea, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, are starting to cost us. They're costing us for a variety of reasons, but basically the downside of a batch system, as you all know, those of you who know what batches are, is you have to wait until all the records are ready to process them all. The concept of anti-patterns was inspired by the concept of design patterns, which indicates common, effective solutions to common problems. So the anti-pattern is the opposite of this. Ooh, I lost my ability to click. Let's see. So here's kind of the issue that we're trying to resolve and that we've been trying to work around. Over the years, an organization like Best Buy or any enterprise builds up a large collection of tightly coupled applications. Some of these applications, for example, might be different components that are talking to the same database because it was easier to do it that way, or they might be touching the same processes, or they might even be dependent on a sequence of events that must have 14 steps, and if any one of these steps doesn't work, none of it works. And you only discover that step 3 failed when step 19 fails at the end, because that's the moment at which you use it, or that's the time at which that you do your data quality checks on that one field and you discover the problem. Legacy systems often have a lot of manual processes, from the deployment processes to the operational processes to even simply the decision making and the reporting processes, which are all possibly, let's say, on paper or in a hard-coded document that nobody can find because it predicts confluence. You know, it's too old, nobody knows where it is. So data is lost in manual processes, and more importantly, people make mistakes. You have the vulnerability in legacy systems to human interference. For example, the bane of my existence is the business analyst who writes a spreadsheet, Excel, and then saves it to a drive, hoping that the system is going to magically pick it up and process this data. Of course, every time the analyst forgets to close the Excel spreadsheet, it's inaccessible because On Windows system, if the spreadsheet isn't closed, it can be locked. So that's a problem. Another problem is that people who go and look around the file system and say, ooh, I like this file, I'm going to move it just for fun. That's a common problem that we run into. Ooh, I lost something. We have the problem of eyes on glass. Older systems were built around a time when the decision makers thought it was a great idea to have a dedicated team staring at computers, waiting until errors showed up, and they handle them. So we were talking about human labor in line rather than automation. We've come a long way since 2012, when eyes on glass was the buzzword of the day. And today, we prefer to have, of course, push notification. Everybody has a phone. We expect to be able to summon the solution to the problem rather than have somebody tell us something came up. And as I touched earlier, we have an over-dependence on batches. To give you an idea, in the Best Buy corporate internals of Batch World, we move approximately 25 billion with a B records per month. And we do that in batches. And I know for a fact, because my engineers did some interesting analysis, we have more than 1 billion records that get slurped into processes where no records come out. So this is like the legacy problem of nobody really knows why it's happening and nobody remembers what it does, but we're afraid to touch it because it's all interconnected. And that's the big brown ball of mud, where we don't know what's in there. We'd like to take it apart, but we noticed that when we change something on system A, system B falls down, and we don't know why. And so we decide to leave it alone. And that's a problem that's quite a challenge to take on. So the goal is to be faster, to reduce incident resolution times. It's too sensitive. To be better, we want to increase the immediacy and the quality of information. After all, technology is all about information. We want it to be easier. We want to have our developers being able to create new features faster with less lead time. And fundamentally, as Nicole brought up in an excellent preemptive example, our core purpose is to improve the customer experience. If we can update a price immediately, real time, and not wait until a complicated batch process happens, everybody wins. Our customers are happier, we're happier, our product owners are happier, we all win. And this is the way we're getting there. I have to move this thing distracting me. There we go. So we've implemented a reusable API system called MuleSoft, which is an API-first integration platform, which separates the problem sets into 3 different layers. It has an experience API layer, which is basically the endpoint that faces inbound data. For example, that's what your phone app would talk to, or what an enterprise system would talk to. Because we're coming out of a batch world into a real-time world, that's where we have the trigger for the possibly still scheduled component, because we can't boil the ocean all at once. We have to start off by setting the table, and then we can actually completely get rid of scheduling. The experience API talks to the process APIs. Fundamentally, the process APIs work in the canonical form. If we know what that means, it's the data structures that are cohesive and consistent to Best Buy. And it's in there that we have the orchestration, or we have the microservices that augment and improve data and create the output data that we're looking for. And then that's passed on to the systems API that talk to the data store, or talk to a web service, or talk to the legacy system. And central to all of this, and I hope Dill's still on the picture here, he'll like to see this, we have to have good data. Data is the key issue. And so a key part of all of this is to make sure that we reject the bad data at the experience API, rather than as it's done today, which is the data tries to get inserted at the very end of the process usually. And at that point, something says, oh, wrong field size. You can't insert a 100-character field into a 20-character field. You have to undo everything. But by then, we've forgotten what's happened, because today in a batch system, you can't just reject the record and move along. Oh. And here's a bit of a concrete example about how this works in the real world. When you have a phone, for example, here, that's an endpoint that talks to an order entry API. It could be a web service on a Spring Boot or Spring web service, or it could be a MuleSoft web service, and that's the facade. It's the experience API. And that gets passed, like it passes on a structured command over to the process API, which is where in the language and the data structures of the enterprise, we decide what to do. And then that gets passed on to the systems API that are technology specific to the downstream processes. So the outcomes of this are fascinating. No more fingers on the process. You know, we've just outright said, yeah, no, you can't just put a file into a file system and hope to have it happen. If you want to put data into the system, you have to go through user interface. Private data stores stay private. You stop the tangling up of data systems. You work to atomic transactions because you're working at the record level now, which means a record goes in. If it's bad, it gets spat out and says, no, I don't know what to do with this. And then you use an error handling layer of some kind. And then you rely in integration patterns on stateless integrations, on a big, highly available, load balanced system that's easier to put together because you know that you're not storing data in the flow. And what that means is the systems are much more reliable, there's less downtime, and everything just works. It significantly reduces complexity. Some of our applications have reduced the number of technologies by 4-fold, which is incredible. It means that, you know, literally today we're able to take in file data that comes from a vendor, we decrypt it, decompress it, work with it, parse it out and send it through, and the file never lands. You don't have to have a file system for it. You don't have to have a scheduler to deal with the files. You don't have to journal the file system. It significantly simplifies code base reuse, you know, and we already see that today. We're seeing that there's already a 30% reuse of our functionality, which is really, really encouraging. And of course, we're improving our reliability and our availability. And that's ultimately what this is about. Things happen faster, they happen better, and they're more available. And this gives us a way to accelerate our incident resolution, which has been really fascinating because all that is really is a service. We throw an incident message over to a service processor, and then our Best Buy team members get a pager alert, and it shows up on their pager, something's gone wrong. And it goes to the L2 instead of going to an ion glass offshore team somewhere, for example. And we get somebody on the trouble to fix the technical solution, the technical issue immediately instead of in 2 hours. And already we see that there are fewer incidents because in this process, what we got out of it, which is fantastic, is that it made it very easy for us to make the team that develops the work own the operational support of the work. So when there's an error, when the bugs are brought in by the developers, it's the developers' colleagues in their team that get the alerts in the middle of the night. And because we bring the error so much closer to the developers, it gets resolved immediately, which brings in, of course, an increase in developer responsiveness because they're very motivated. And that's been an excellent outcome. And, oh, how it goes. I seem to have lost the ability to go to the next slide. So I'm gonna leave it at this slide. The next slide is my end screen. So thank you very much for watching my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Wow, thank you so much. That was absolutely phenomenal, Morgan. Everyone give a round of applause for that incredible story. And I loved the metaphor of the great big ball of mud that I'm going to file for inventory and use in my personal life. So that was amazing. Do we have any questions from anyone who wants to ask Morgan anything at all? Emily K has said, I wish I had this presentation when I was at my old job, where I was the initial developer of the integrations. So awesome work. Love these outcomes. Okay, gonna leave 15 seconds for folks to ask anything. Lots of thank yous in the chat. I think you just wowed everyone, Morgan. They're stunned. They're stunned, especially with that first story. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you're okay.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, but then I loved the segue to anti-patterns. I mean, that was definitely comedic and just wonderful. So thank you so much. Okay, now we are going to kick off our final presentation. So without further ado, oh, there's the last slide, but then now you.
Oh, no, it can't. There you go.
And also, everyone, if you want to ask any of the speakers questions, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, I have a question for Nancy or Jinu or anyone, please DM me, email me. We will, of course, post this recording online after the event, and we will circulate questions if anyone has any after this event. Okay, perfect. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and introduce our final speaker of this evening. And we've actually kept time because we have 10 minutes left, but Uma, don't worry if you go over, that's totally okay. Uma Sharma is our last speaker this evening, and she's a performance engineer at Best Buy. She's been working as a performance engineer since 2016. She brings to her role a plethora of education, including a degree in mathematics and a master's in computer engineering, and over 9 years experience in software development and application support. Wow. Uma is known for her unwavering commitment to finding creative, out-of-the-box solutions. And her talk title tonight is My Journey into a Tech Environment. So everyone give a warm round of applause for our final speaker this evening, Uma.
Thank you, Holly. I have slides.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to pin you as the spotlight and take it away. You can now share your screen.
Everybody can hear me? I'm audible?
Yep, you can hear you and we can see you.
Presentation too? Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Uma Sharma, a performance engineer here at Best Buy Canada. Welcome to my journey to tech environment. So what do I mean by this keyword environment here? Information technology is a huge industry, and to explore me in this environment was an uphill task and challenging factor. So how did it all start? Let me begin by sharing my story, my struggles, how I removed those bottlenecks to get me here where I'm today. Here I go. So this regards to set up my personal environment back home in India. I had my education. I did my master's in computer application, and my family focus for me was to get married after my master's. So I got married, I had my first child. I didn't do anything about my career. I didn't even think about it. I was lacking this real inspiration. I was off track and I was feeling low. This was a massive challenge for me to set up myself in this IT sector. As there's a famous quotation from Abraham Lincoln, what he says, the best way to predict your future is to create it. And I was looking for that inspiration to create my own future. And guess what? That's where I got my inspiration. The lady standing next to me is my mother-in-law. And she's the one who inspired me. She's the one who told me women should stand on their feet. They should be independent and they should have their own identity. I still remember her words, believe in yourself. And trust me, this was the turning point in my life. I decided I'm going to put all my efforts, all my energy to get into this IT sector. And let's see how this inspiration helps me further. I was done with my first task to set up my personal environment. I was ready for my next task to set up my work environment. With master's degree in computer application, I wanted to do a professional certification. And that's how I did a certification in Microsoft technology. And this was my first stepping stone. The next big challenge for me was to enter in the industry. I would say I was fortunate enough. I got my first break in CDAC, and later I joined a Pyramid IT consulting. I would say these two companies back home in India gave me huge exposure in software development by working on various projects, both offshore and onshore. Later in 2014, I, along with my family, landed in Toronto, Canada as a permanent immigrant. I was on lookout for the opportunity in my specialized field. Later, I got an offer from Wipro Technology, and I was asked to work with their esteemed client, Best Buy Canada, here at Burnaby. And that's how I moved to BC. When I started with Best Buy, I was in the development team. And being a developer, I delivered many critical projects over here. Later, our director said that he wants to create an in-house performance engineering team. And I showed my interest. Although I never tried it, I didn't have that experience in performance testing, but I showed my interest. And Best Buy trained me on tools and technologies related to performance testing. What I like about performance testing, it was easy for me to learn since I had that coding background. What I enjoy most, the thing which I enjoy most is the performance tuning. How we can improve an API, a service, a page response time by tweaking some code, by removing some extra lines of code, or by just putting a simple index on the table. We have seen the response time of a service which shows 100 milliseconds. By just putting an index on the table, we saw that the response time went down to 50 milliseconds. Isn't it amazing? Then why do we say performance matters a lot? Yes, poor performance can negatively impact conversion rate. Reports and studies have shown 1 second delay in page response time can reduce 7% conversion rates. Then what do I mean by this well-performing application? I would say an application is performing well when an end user performs a task without any undue perceived delay or irritation. But how to achieve that? That's where the performance testing comes into picture. Performance testing helps in determining the stability of the system under a particular load. How's the performance testing trend here at Best Buy Canada? When I joined Best Buy in 2016 as a performance engineer, the performance team's main focus was to test the website for stability during the holiday peak season. Over the period of time, performance team has come a long way. It is no more restricted for that holiday season, but also has been extended to the other product families. Since we are working very close with the product families, we are educating them on tools and the matrices so that they can test on their own. Our focus is not only to find the bottlenecks in the code, we are also helping in enhancing the performances of their services and APIs. If they need some extra CPUs or memories, we do recommend them. How do we do performance testing here at Best Buy Canada? For any API or service that need to be performance tested, first of all, we need to have a performance environment setup. Once we have the performance environment setup, the main thing that we do is the backend testing, the server-side testing of those APIs, apps. We do front-end testing also. We monitor the front-end performances of the key pages of websites. Once we are done with the performance testing of the services, APIs, how we measure the performance? We measure the performance against the industry set standards, and we call them as a performance standards here. We do have dashboard setups to monitor our APIs, pages every day for the monitoring, for the performance tracking. the last and the most important is the performance tuning. Whenever we see any bottleneck in any service or any API, we try to resolve the bottleneck by providing performance tuning to the team. I've just taken one small example how we have performance tuned one of the API that we did previously. I just want to give some background on the problem. So as a part of IT transformation journey, Best Buy is moving to micro-based architecture. What does it mean? It means loosely coupled services, which can be easily deployable. And the platform which is being used for this is OpenShift platform. Why OpenShift platform? Because it provides better logging framework, it has got better security systems and multiple factors to that. When we were testing one of the service which was developed for this OpenShift platform, we saw some uneven traffic on the pods. What was the impact of that issue? We saw high CPU utilization on the pods, and the overall impact was the high response time of that service, which does not match to our standards. And how did we resolve that? Since this platform was new, not only for the performance team, it was new for developers, it was new for operations team. We did some Google. Initially, it was hard for us to find a solution. Then we did reach out to the vendor, OpenShift Red Hat team, and then we got better understanding of this deployable units. They recommended some settings, how we can tweak some configuration, how we can add some annotations, and we can resolve the issue. Later, we did that, and we saw that issue was resolved. I'm just sharing two graphs where you can see in the first graph, there is a performance bottleneck. You can see the 4 lines, green, blue, red, and orange. So you can see the orange one is having the least traffic and the green one is having the max traffic. Once we placed those configurations, this issue was resolved and all the pods were getting the same traffic. In the end, I'd like to thank everyone who has helped me directly or indirectly. I would say the environment of Best Buy has given me the best opportunity to bring best out of me, both personally and professionally. Thanks everyone. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much, Uma. That was amazing. And you know what? You were exactly on time, which I'm not surprised by, which shows you that you have an incredible internal clock that is just phenomenal. So everyone give a warm round of applause for Uma. I now like to open the floor to anyone who might have questions for Uma regarding performance testing. I think folks are just stunned, to be honest. There's a tsunami of information everyone is basking in tonight. Lots of comments from Jill, who says, wonderful presentation, Uma. Chat is just going crazy right now with folks who are thanking the speakers for their time and honesty. Yeah, wonderful presentation. I encourage everyone, especially the speakers, to open up the chat window and just see the kudos during your talk. Okay, well, on that note, I am going to formally end the event and share my screen for the last time. Because I do want to be mindful of everyone's time. It's 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, or Wednesday rather. Where are the days going during this pandemic? But I do want to thank everyone, especially our brave, tremendously excellent speakers tonight for sharing their stories on the awesomeness that they're building at Best Buy. So everyone give a round of applause. They're truly memorable. Thank you. Tonight wasn't without its technical blips and hiccups, but that's the beauty of hosting online Zoom events. If you're looking for more information on our network or who we are in the leadership team partnerships. If you have an idea and you want to actually host an upcoming event, please DM me or follow us at Women Who Code Vancouver. You can follow our global Twitter handle as well, Women Who Code. Please reach out to me. We will be circulating the deck and the video when it's posted on YouTube shortly. At one point, I think we had over 65 attendees, which is phenomenal for a Wednesday evening. So everyone should feel awesome just about tonight. And I just want to thank everyone for attending, especially Dave and Kristen for orchestrating this event. So finally, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open the floor. Kristen, Dave, do you want to have any final say, moments of?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to thank you everyone for spending time with us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed these amazing stories and learned a bit about our culture and what we do. Holly, I want to thank you and the Women Who Code team for having us. It's an honor to be here. And, you know, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Jinu, Nancy, Chen, Nicole, Morgan, and Uma. Your stories were all like super powerful and really, you know, you shared so openly and were very vulnerable. And, you know, we're really proud of you tonight for everything, for the way you showed up. You showed up super strong. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Kristen, do you have any final words before we call it?
Just, I honestly, this has been echoed so many times, but these speakers are so inspiring, and I feel lucky to work with all of them and Best Buy. So thanks again for the evening, and thanks for those who were in attendance who don't work at Best Buy, because we love sharing our stories. So we appreciate your time and listening. So till next time, because we'll be back, right?
Best Buy has been a huge supporter of us since inception, so I don't doubt it. Let's plan the next one. We're accepting ideas and proposals.
I'm in.
Hopefully it's going to be in not URL, IRL, because those events are more fun. So fingers crossed. Okay, everyone, with that, let's call it. Thank you again, and hope everyone has a safe and lovely evening.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.